My dear student in the first secondary stage, welcome at Integrated Science program. My name is Mr. Hani Muhammad. I am a teacher of Integrated Science. And now let's continue our Integrated Science program with a general revision for October exam. And now let's start. The first part of our revision today will start by choose the correct answer. The first question, which of the following doesn't represent an ecosystem? Okay, so we talk about doesn't represent, okay? The Great Desert, Amazon rainforest, atmosphere, salty lakes. Your answer is right. It is the atmosphere, which is not belong to the ecosystem at all. Second, what is the percentage that ocean seas and salty lakes represent of total percentage of water converting the earth? Again, what is the percentage that oceans, seas, and salty lakes represent of total percentage of water covering the earth? 70%, 97%, 3%, 30%. Yes, you are right. It is 97. Another question. A continuous change between the three states of water on the Earth's surface within a closed system called the Planck cycle. Nitrogenous, carbon quotients, oxygenation, hydrological. You are right. This is the hydrological. So the water cycle, it has another name, which is hydrological. Another question. Which of the following is, if stopped, could directly disturb the balance of water cycle on Earth's surface and in the atmosphere? Surface runoff, evaporation, infiltration into soil, transpiration. Don't forget, we need here to know the things that directly disturb the balance in the water cycle. So the main reason or the main factor that affects the water cycle, it is what? It is the evaporation. If the evaporation stops or something happened in the rate of the evaporation, sure, the total water cycle will affect it. Another question. The figure shows a part of the water cycle. The process that is labeled by 1 contributes in blank. Raining, formation groundwater, forming clouds, snowfall. I want all of you to look carefully to the picture. And this is the area which is labeled by number 1. Okay, you can see the water which come out from the rains, from the clouds. It's filtered inside the soil. So, and it will go down to form what? Yes, to form the groundwater. Okay, so this process, it is very important in forming what? Groundwater. So the answer will be letter B. Okay, another question. An increase in the rate of plant transpiration can indirectly affect water cycle in nature through blank. Decreasing rainfall, increasing water vapor in the atmosphere, reducing evaporation from water bodies, fixing carbon dioxide in leaves. Okay, again, this is not an easy question, okay, because here we talk about the increase in the rate of the plant transpiration. And I told you before, the transpiration, it is a process where the plant can get rid of from the excess water, okay, through tiny holes called by stomata. Okay, so an increase in the rate of the plant transpiration can indirectly affect what? Yes, that's right. It can affect increasing water vapor in the atmosphere, because the transpiration, it is a main reason or very important reason in the formation of the vapor in the atmosphere. Another question. The ratio between the lithosphere and the hydrosphere that cover Earth's surface is equal to, as you know, the lithosphere is represent about 30% and hydrosphere about 70%. So the ratio between them easily will be, yes, 3/7. Okay, let's go for another question. Water cycle in nature is known as space cycle. Yes, it's called by hydrological cycle. And don't forget, okay, for the second time, it's very important to know the two meaning of, or the two names of, the water cycle and the hydrological cycle. Both of them are the same. What is a biological process that the animals perform and share through it in the water cycle? In this question, we talk about the biological process which help in the water cycle. It is the respiration, transpiration, photosynthesis, growth. Yes, that's right. It is the respiration. Okay? Which of the following shapes correctly represent the structure of water molecule and the angle between the two covalent bonds? That's right. It is letter D. Okay? The number of electrons shared by two hydrogen atoms to form covalent bonds in water molecule equals 1 electron, 2 electrons, 3 electrons, 4 electrons. We talk here about what? About two hydrogen atoms, and each one shared by 1 electron. So the total electrons will be what? Will be 2 electrons. Okay, so B is the right answer. Another question. The following chemical equation represent the hydrolysis of the salt, WZ. Okay, this is the symbol for the salt. Okay, it is just a symbol. So WZ, it is a solid. By adding it to water, H2O, we get HZ, it's aqueous, and OH negative, aqueous, and W positive, okay? Which of the following represent the pH value of the solution? Okay, if you look to the equation, you can find that the ratio of, or the amount of OH minus increase. So that means the solution here will be basic solution. And as you know from the pH value, if the pH value is greater than the 7, so it will be basic solution. So this solution is basic, and the answer will be 8. Okay, so the pH value equals 8. Okay, another question. Which of the following correctly describes the composition of water molecule? The percentage of hydrogen mass in the molecule equals 66.67. The percentage of oxygen mass in the molecule is 33.33%. The percentage of hydrogen mass in the molecule is 11.11%. The percentage of oxygen mass in the molecule is 50%. You are right. C is the right answer. The percentage of hydrogen mass in the molecule is 11.11%. Okay? Another question. I want all of you to look first carefully to the picture in front of you. Okay? The figure shows two water molecules. The hydrogen bond is formed between which one of them? 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 2 and 4, 1 and 4. Okay, you have first, okay, to know that the gray color here, it indicates the hydrogen, which has partially positively charged. And the red here represents the oxygen, which has what? Yes, partially negative charge. Okay, and we talk here about the hydrogen bond. And as you know, the hydrogen bond, it is a kind of electrostatic attraction force between positive and negative, partially positive and partially negative. So 2 here represent positive partially, and 4 here represent negative partially charge. Okay, so the hydrogen bond will happen between 2 and 4. Okay, so this is the right answer. Okay, and don't forget the hydrogen bond. It's very important to change the characters of the water, as we mentioned before in the previous lessons. Another question. The reason of the polarity of the water molecule is the high difference in electronegativity of its elements, the atomic mass of its elements, the number of covalent bonds between its atoms, the type of covalent bonds between its atoms. I think it's a very easy question. It is a electronegativity. And as I mentioned before, and I will remind you another time, the electronegativity here, it's referred to the ability of the atom to attract the electron bond in the covalent bond toward itself. Okay, so in the water, the electronegativity of the oxygen is greater than the electronegativity of the hydrogen, so that the oxygen will pull the electrons of the bond toward itself more tightly or more time rather than what the hydrogen. So the hydrogen in this case will gain partially positive charge, and the oxygen will gain partially negative charge. Okay, so the electronegativity, it is the main reason, okay, for the polarity. Okay, the high difference in the electronegativity lead to the polarity. Okay, let's go for another question. The opposite figure illustrates the structure of water molecule. Which of the following atoms carry a partial positive charge? It's a very easy question. I'm talking about partially positive. And as I mentioned before, the hydrogen here carries what? Yes, partially positive charge. And the hydrogen here represents what? 2 and 3. Okay, so 2 and 3, that is the right answer. Another question. Water resembles hydrogen sulfide in molecular mass, the boiling point, the presence of hydrogen atom, the molecule structure. Sure, the right answer is the molecule structure, because the molecular mass is completely different between the water and the hydrogen sulfide, and also the boiling point, and also the type of the hydrogen bond. It's not found in case of the hydrogen sulfide. Okay, another question. Which of the following happen when sodium chloride salt is added to water? Don't forget, sodium chloride, it is a ionic compound and it dissolves easily in water. Okay? So what will happen if we dissolve sodium chloride in water? Positive ions bond to the positive poles of the water. Negative ions bond to the negative poles of water. The crystal lattice of the salt dissociates. Hydrolysis of salt ions. That's right. The crystal lattice of the salt dissociated, and the chlorine ion and the sodium ion, which is carry positive charge, and the chlorine carry negative charge. Okay, both of them will surrounded by the water molecule, but the sodium, the positive sodium will surrounded by what? Yes, by the negative oxygen of the water molecule. And the chlorine, the negative chlorine, will surrounded by the positive hydrogen of what? Of the water. Okay? Another question. In dissolving ammonium chloride salt in water, what will happen if you dissolve amount of ammonium chloride in the water? Let's see. Hydrolysis takes place and the solution becomes acidic. Hydrolysis takes place and the solution becomes basic. The salt dissociates, but no hydrolysis takes place. The salt doesn't dissociate, no hydrolysis takes place. Okay, right answer, hydrolysis takes place and the solution becomes acidic. Why the solution becomes acidic? Because the percentage of the positive hydrogen ion increase in the solution. Okay, so in that case, the solution will be acidic solution because, as you know, the percentage of the hydrogen positive ion in the solution indicates the acidity of what? Of the solution. Okay? Another question. The hydrolysis of sodium bicarbonate. Okay? First, look to this equation. This is a sodium bicarbonate. Okay? By hydrolysis in water, it will form Na positive, aqueous, and OH negative, aqueous, and H2CO3. So the ratio of the hydroxide, negative hydroxide, increase in the solution, so that the hydrogen ion concentration decrease, okay, and the hydroxide ion concentration increase, as you see in the equation. So the relation between positive hydrogen and negative hydroxide, so the positive hydrogen is less than the hydroxide, the negative hydroxide. So the pH here will be more than 7. Why? Because it is an basic solution. And the acidic type here, it will be weak acid, but the base will be strong. Okay, so the right answer will be D. Okay, don't forget the equations is very important to allow you to know exactly how to solve this kind of questions. Let's go for another one. Which of the following graphs represents the correct relation between mass of substance and its specific heat? First, let's define what is the meaning of the specific heat. I will remind you, it is the amount of the heat, okay, that need to rise the temperature of 1 kilogram of the substance by 1 degree Celsius. Okay, so here the specific heat, it is not dependent on the mass because we're talking about 1 kilogram only. So 1 kilogram or 2 kilograms or 5 kilograms of the same substance, okay, has the same specific heat, so it will not change. So the most suitable or the suitable graph to represent the relation between the specific heat and the mass, it will be graph number or letter A. Okay, so whatever the mass increase, for example, the mass of a piece of iron increase or decrease, that will not affect the specific heat of the iron, because the specific heat of each matter, okay, it is a kind of the characteristics of this matter. Okay, another question. Yes, it's a good question. Try to concentrate with me and leave everything in your hand and try to read with me. In the opposite figure, when a large amount of salt is dissolved in pure water, the volume of the submerged part of the hydrometer placed in this water increase, decrease, doesn't change, cannot be determined. I told you before, my dear student, that the hydrometer, it is a device we use it to measure the density or the specific density of a non-fluid, okay? And if the concentration or the density of the solution increase, so the submerged part of the hydrometer in the solution will decrease. Okay, why? Because I told you before, the working idea of hydrometer depends on the buoyancy concept. Okay, and by increase the density, the submerged part will decrease. Okay, so the right answer here, decrease. So in the opposite figure, when a large amount of salt is dissolved in pure water, okay, the volume of the submerged part of the hydrometer placed in this water will decrease. Okay, let's go for another one. Collective properties of solution. It depends on what? Let's see. Depends only on the type of solid, depends only on the type of solvent, depend on both the type of concentration of the solute, depend on the concentration of solute, not its type. I told you before, okay, that the collective properties of the solution, it is depend on, yes, the amount of the solute, the concentration of the solute. Okay, it is independent on the type of the solute. Okay, so depends on the concentration of the solute, not its type. This is the collective properties of any solution. Let's go for another question. Yes, it is a question need for more concentration and more thinking, deep thinking. Try to read with me. The following figure represents the change happened to three substances have equal masses and same initial temperature, are heated for an equal period of time by the same thermal source. Which of the following is the correct order according to their specific heat? Let's examine the diagram. Okay, the substance A, when it's heated, its temperature increases rapidly and fast. And this indicates it has what? Yes, it has very small specific heat. And let's look to B. The temperature of the B increase in very, very few amount. Okay, so that means the specific heat capacity of B, it is very large, and C will be in between of them. So the right arrangement will be A less than C less than B. So we arrange them according to the specific heat. The specific heat of the B, okay, it is what? Yes, it is the most. Why? Because the rise in the temperature, it's very small or few rise. Okay? So finally, I want to tell you the relation between the specific heat and the increase in the temperature. Okay? So when the specific heat increase, okay, like what? Like the specific heat of the water. It means that it will not be heated fast, and that help to make the weather normal and suitable for the life. Okay, and vice versa. If the specific heat value is very small, okay, so the heating rate will be very fast, like the sand. Okay, the sand will heat faster and also lose the amount or the heat faster also. Okay, let's go for another one. If the boiling point of water at the base of a mountain is 100 degrees Celsius, its boiling point at the top of the mountain is what? Sure, you know that by the altitude, the atmospheric pressure decreases, so the boiling point of the water will decrease also. So the right answer here is 95 degrees. Another question. The following data table shows the change in the temperature of equal masses of different materials, delta T, okay? When each of one gains the same amount of heat, which substance W, X, Y, or Z has the largest specific heat? It's very easy. I think we talked about this before, okay? Which one has the largest specific heat? So the largest specific heat, it means it will not heat it fast. So which one? W, which is its temperature increased by 5, or X, or Y, or Z. So logic will be what? Will be W. Why W? Because its temperature not increased with an extremely value. Okay, it is just 5. Okay, another question. If pure water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, so the dissolving amount of salt in water causing its freezing point to be, yes, less than 0, equal to 0, greater than 0, between 0 and 4 degrees Celsius. Actually, I told you before that the freezing point affected by what? By the amount of the solid. By increasing the amount of the solid, the freezing point what? Decrease. Okay, that's what already happened in the cold countries. They sprayed the salt in the streets. Why? Because when the rain is fall down, okay, the salty solution which formed, its freezing point will be less than 0. So that helped to decrease the rate of the accident and to protect the people in the street. Okay, so here, by increasing the concentration of the solute, the freezing point decrease, so it will be less than 0. Okay, let's go for another question. 3 aqueous solutions of equal volumes, X, Y, and Z, each containing different amount of sodium chloride as shown in the opposite table. The correct order of the freezing point of Tx, Ty, and Tz is. Here we're talking about the freezing point. And I told you before that more concentration is, okay, the less freezing point will be. Okay, so which one has the highest concentration? Okay, yes, Z, Then, yes, X and Y, 10 grams. Okay, so the right answer here will be C, okay? Ty greater than, yes, Tx greater than Tz. Why? Because the concentration of Z, it is the highest one. Okay, so it has the lowest, yes, it has the lowest freezing point. Okay, and Y, it has what? Yes, the concentration, it's very little concentration. It's not a high concentration. So the freezing point, it will be the highest, the highest one. Okay, let's go for another one. What does the term the concentration of solution express? Total volume of solution, type of solution and solvent, amount of solute in a given volume of solvent, temperature of the solute. Yes, it's very easy. The amount of solute in a given volume of solvent. So this is the concept of concentration of the solution. The system international measuring unit of the temperature is degrees Celsius, degree Fahrenheit, Kelvin, and Rankine. Yes, that's right. It will be Kelvin. Okay? It's very easy. Another question, and I want you to concentrate and read which of the following is not an example of an aqueous solution. A solution of table salt in water, lemon juice, tea, a mixture of sand and water. I told you before, aqueous solution, it means that the solute completely dissolve in the solvent, so we cannot distinguish them by our naked eye. Okay? So the mixture of sand and water, they are not mixed together, and you can distinguish them by your naked eye. So this is the right answer, a mixture of sand and water. It is not an aqueous solution because the sand is not completely dissolved or not dissolved at all in the water. Okay? What is the effect of increasing the concentration of dissolved substance in water on its density? As I mentioned before, okay, the density here can be affected by the amount of the dissolved substance. So when you add more salt to the water, more salt and more salt, that led to increase the density of that solution, okay? So the density will increase by adding more solute to the solution. What is the relation between the number of solute molecules in the solution and its vapor pressure? Inverse relation, direct relationship, no relationship, variable relationship. That's right. It is inverse relationship. Okay? Which of the following factor doesn't, okay, affect the boiling point of solution? Volume of solution, density of solution, atmospheric pressure, concentration of solution. Excellent, good. The volume of solution, it is not related at all to the factors that affect the boiling point. But density affects the boiling point, okay? By increasing the density, the boiling point will change, and also atmospheric pressure and also concentration of the solution, okay? When a pure water sample is left exposed to the atmospheric air, then part of water is evaporated, so its boiling point decrease, becomes zero, increases, doesn't change. Yes, it's easily, it will not change, doesn't change. Okay? Why? Because it is just pure water. Whatever it evaporates or not, okay, the density will not change at all because or the boiling point will not change at all because we still keep the colligative property of the pure water. Another question. The colligative properties of solution depend on, yes, nature of the solvent, nature of the solute, volume of the solution, the number of the solute particles. Very easy. It is the number of solid particles. Okay? Again, the colligative properties of the solution depends on the solution particles, the concentration of the solute, and so on. Okay? Which of the following statement isn't related to bacteria? They are prokaryotes. Their genetic material is surrounded by nuclear membrane. Their cell wall contains beta-glucan substance. They are unicellular organisms. That's right. Their genetic material is surrounded by nuclear membrane. Okay? If a living organism has its genetic material free in the cytoplasm and lacks mitochondria, then this organism is, again, if a living organism has its genetic material free in the cytoplasm and lack mitochondria, then this organism is what? Good. It will be prokaryote. Okay, the prokaryote, it is a living organism where the genetic material is not surrounded by what? By nuclear membrane. All eukaryotes are similar in containing what? Large vacuole, mitochondria, cell wall, chloroplast. That's right, mitochondria. And the mitochondria, it is the source of the energy in the cells. Fungi and protozoa are similar in that all of them containing cell wall are heterotrophic, are aquatic, are unicellular. That's right, are heterotrophic. And let's distinguish between heterotrophic and autotrophic. Heterotrophic, it means the living organism, okay, depends on another living organism to get its food. But autotrophic, it means the living organism make its own food. Like what? Like the plant. The plant, through the photosynthesis process, okay, it can make its own food. So the plant is autotrophic. Okay? Which of the following kingdoms all its organisms are autotrophic? Very easy. It is a plant. Which of the following is characteristics of animal kingdom? All its organisms are unicellular. All its organisms are autotrophic. Most of its organisms are capable to move. Most of its organisms are prokaryotes. Good. Most of its organisms are capable to move. Another one. Insects belong to coelunerate, arthropods, mollusks, enchinoderms. That's right. It is the arthropods. The insect related to the arthropods. The shown figure represents blank cell whose cell wall contains bacteria chitin, bacteria peptoglycine, fungal chitin, or fungal peptoglycine? That's right. It is letter B. It is the right answer. Okay, because the bacteria, which is related to what? Yes, the prokaryotes. And if you look to the genetic material, it's found freely inside the cytoplasm without any nuclear membrane. So, and this is the main phase that we can classify the living organism into prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Which of the following structure exists in all living organisms? Exist in all living organisms. Don't forget. Nucleus membrane, chloroplasts, cell wall, plasma membrane. It's very easy question. Yes, it's a plasma membrane which found in all living organisms. Another question. A group of membranes used to transport various materials from one place to another inside the cell. Vacuoles, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, chloroplasts. Yes, it is what? Endoplasmic reticulum. And the endoplasmic reticulum, it is a kind of tubes or materials that connect the different organelles inside what? Inside the cell. Okay, it is like what? It's like the communicator between the cell's component. The figure shows the structure of a plant cell. Which organelles are not found in the animal cell? Yes, cell membrane and the plastid, cell wall and the mitochondria, plastid and cell wall, endoplasmic reticulum, and sap vacuole. Sure, it is the plastid and cell wall which characterized for the plant cell only. It's not found in the animal cell. A gel-like substance mostly composed of water, containing some important chemical necessary for the cell's survival. Mitochondria, green plastids, cytoplasm, plasma membrane. Sure, it will be cytoplasm. It is jelly-like structure. It's like the fluid which fill the plant cell or the animal cell. Which of the following correctly links water and metabolic reaction? Water stores energy directly. Water is a medium for biochemical reactions. Water stops enzyme activity. Water forms the plasma membrane. Sure, the right answer will be water is the medium for biological reaction. All the biological reaction that's happening inside your body, it is happen by the presence of water. If there is no water, all the biological process in our body will stop. Which of the following factors directly shows down enzyme activity? Which is one slow down the enzyme activity? Increasing the number of the mitochondria, raising the temperature above the optimum limit, availability of substrates, molecules in abundance, increasing the size of the sap vacuole. Sure, I told you before that enzyme, it is a chemical substance consists of protein that reduce the activation energy we need to start the chemical reaction, which is happen inside your body. So it's not a chemical reaction, it is a biochemical reaction. Okay, so which of the following factors directly slow down enzyme activity? It is what? It is the optimum temperature. And I told you before the enzyme, okay, has optimum temperature and optimum pH value. And both of them, the enzyme activity will be the highest value. Okay. And now, my dear student, let's go for the essay questions. What is the biological process that contribute to the water cycle in the nature? The answer, yes, respiration, transpiration, and excretion. Calculate the amount of the heat required to raise the temperature of 0.3 kilogram of copper from 20 degrees Celsius to 70 degrees Celsius, where the scientific heat of the copper equals 390 joule per kilogram Kelvin. First, we need to collect the given. The mass equals 0.3 kilograms. Delta T, it is the change in the temperature. 70 minus 20 equals 50. And the specific heat of the copper, 390 joule per kilogram Kelvin. And we will use the mathematical relation QTH, the amount of the heat that required, okay, to rise. So it is the amount of the heat gain, okay? QTH equal MC delta T. So M 0.3, C 390, delta T 50. So the answer will be 5,850 joules. This is the amount of heat energy that need to rise the temperature of the substance, but from 20 to 70. Another question. What is the effect of the increase in the concentration of the dissolved substance in the pure water on each of the following? First, its density. The concentration, we talk about increasing the concentration. So increasing the concentration led to, yes, increase the density. What about the boiling point? Increase the boiling point. Okay, why? Because the attraction force between the solute molecules and the water increase. Okay, so this is will increase the boiling point also. The freezing point, sure, the freezing point decrease. Vapor pressure, also vapor pressure decrease. Why? Because the number of the water molecules in the surface will decrease, so the rate of evaporation also will decrease. That's good. Define vapor pressure of a solution. Yes, the pressure exerted by the vapor molecules above the liquid surface due to the evaporation process. So this is the definition of what? Of vapor pressure. What happened to boiling point of an aqueous solution when going up a mountain and why? When we're going up on a mountain, the atmospheric pressure decreases. Okay, and by decreasing the atmospheric pressure, what will happen to the boiling point of the water or any substance? Yes, the boiling point will decrease also. The boiling point decrease. Why? Due to the decreasing in the atmospheric pressure. So the atmospheric pressure here, it is the most important factor that affect what? The boiling point. Give reason. Pure water evaporates faster than the aqueous solution. Why? Yes, because of dissolving a solute molecules occupy a part in the liquid surface, reducing the number of water molecules exposed to the evaporation at the surface. Okay? Give reason also. Water helps living organisms maintain a stable internal temperature despite its external outside. Yes, due to the high specific heat of the water, it helps living organisms maintain stable internal temperature despite of its fluctuations outside. What is the importance of transpiration for the plant? We have two important things. The first one, decrease the temperature of the plant. And the second one, create a pulling force that draws water and minerals upward from roots to the upper parts of the plant. Through what? Through the xylem tissue. Okay? What is meant by excretion? The answer, it is a process in which the living organisms eliminate the wastes resulting from the metabolic activities such as carbon dioxide, water vapor, and nitrogenous wastes. So this is the excretion process. Look to this figure carefully. Okay, it's represent the water molecule. And let's go for the question about what is the type of the bond X? Sure, it is the bond between oxygen and the hydrogen, and as you know before, it is what? Yes, it is single covalent bond. Another question. Indicate on the figure the partial positive charge and the partial negative charge. It's very easy. The hydrogen carries what? Yes, partially positive charge, and the oxygen carries partially negative charge. What is meant by the internal energy of object equals 1000 joule? The answer, the summation of the kinetic and the potential energies of the total body's molecule equals what? Equals 1000 joule. So the internal energy here means the summation of the potential and the kinetic energy of the total molecules inside the subject or inside the body. What is meant by the specific heat of a liquid water equals 4180 joule per kilogram Kelvin? It means very easy, the amount of the heat energy that needs to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of the matter by 1 degree Celsius equals 4180 joules. A quantity of pure water with a mass equals 1 kilogram and temperature of 8 degrees Celsius. What happened to its density in each of the following cases? Yes, first, adding 1 kilogram of pure water at temperature equals 8. So the density will not change at all. Why? Because you add a pure water. So nothing will happen and nothing will change. But if we dissolve 34 grams of the table salt, what will happen in that case to the density? Sure, the density will increase because the density of the solution depends on the amount of dissolved solute. Yes, the last question. The figure shows two equal samples. One is pure water and the other is salt water. When both are heated to boiling, sample X is observed to boil at 102.5 degrees Celsius, while sample Y boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Indicate with an explanation which sample is pure water and which is salty water. It's very easy, sure. Y, it is a pure water, and X, it is what? It is the salty water. How we know that? Due to what? Yes, the number of the solid inside of them. Okay, so the sample X is a pure water. Okay, it's impure water because the boiling point increased by the increase the molecules number inside the dissolved. Again, so the sample X, it is impure water. Sample X, it is impure water. Okay, because the boiling point increased by increasing what? The molecules number of dissolved salt. Okay, my dear students, this is the end of our revision for today. I hope all of you understood well. See you next time and goodbye.